So we're going to go ahead and look at this test review for Chapter 11. Here's the questions at the top that we'll be doing. We might have to reference that as we go along. So we're going to start with 1 to 14. So number 1 through 3 says solve each proportion. So that the way that we solve a proportion is to cross multiply. And so here we have 15 times 2 is 30 equals 9 times x, which is 9x. So we have 30 equals 9x. We can go ahead and divide both sides by 9. And we get 30 divided by 9. Well, 3 goes into both of those. 3 goes into that 3 times, and 3 goes into this 10 times. So we have x equals 10 thirds, which is 3 1/3. Next one, we're going to cross multiply again. Hopefully you're doing this on a separate sheet of paper. I'm going to try to squeeze some of these things in here. But well, once again, this is a proportion, so we cross multiply. The thing that we need to be careful of here is when we cross multiply, this is y minus 2, the whole thing times 54. So don't forget those parentheses because we'll have to distribute the 54. And then 9 times 18 is 162. So we'll distribute the 54. There's a couple different ways to solve this, but it's kind of the standard way. Minus 108 equals 162. We will add 108 to both sides. And remember, you can use a calculator for this if necessary. We haven't really needed it quite yet. So we have 54y equals, when we add this together, we get 270. And then we'll divide both sides by 54. I actually think it's going to probably divide pretty nicely, but we can use a calculator if that speeds things up for you. So 270 divided by 54 is 5. So y equals 5. Is the answer. And this last one from this section, we're going to cross multiply again. This one actually is going to involve a little bit of maybe some algebra 1 type stuff. So we're going to cross multiply, and we have z times z plus 6 equals 72. So we distribute the z. We get z squared plus 6z equals 72. Subtract 72 from both sides. And then we have a quadratic. The reason we subtract 72 from both sides is because we have a quadratic equation. So I didn't write the work here. We're subtracting 72. And now what we do, once we have a quadratic, we try to factor. So we're going to try to factor this. How do we get a z squared? Well, a z times z. How do you get a negative 72? Well, you need a 1 plus and 1 minus. And then factors of 72, looks like this will be 12 here and 6 here. So either z equals negative 12 or 6. Again, that's because if two things multiply together equals 0, one of them have to be 0, so we're thinking what value of z makes that 0? Well, negative 12 does. What value of z makes this whole thing equal 0? 6 does. So our answers are negative 12 and 6. I'm going to have to erase a little bit here so we can see number 4. Which of the following proportions are equivalent to a over b equals c over d? So there's a few properties that we learned about this. We learned the exchange of means property, we learned the reciprocal, and we also learned the cross product, which is what we use to solve proportions. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cross multiply on this one. And this equals A times D equals B times C. Now, if any of these other choices, A, B, or C, is equivalent to A times D equals B times C, then they are the same. So let's cross multiply. We got AD equals CB or BC. Well, that's the same as our original here, so that's a yes. Next one, we cross multiply. It says D times A, but we can put it in order. AD equals B times C. That is also a yes. It's the same as this one up here. The last one, we have BD equals AC. Is that the same as the original? It's not. So this one is not equivalent. So just A and B. All right, number 5, find the scale factor for a 16 1/8 inch tall scale model of the 129-foot tall Jefferson Memorial. Well, in order to do this, it might be helpful to have things all in inches, maybe. So we can have this first one. This is 16 1/8. 16 1/8 inches, and 129 feet in inches, as we would need to multiply 129 times 12. 129 times 12 is 1,548. 1,548. And we want to simplify this, so up here we might need to cross multiply. Not cross multiply, change to an improper fraction. 8 times 16 is 128. So we have 129 eighths over 548. Well, dividing is the same as multiplying by the reciprocal. So this is going to be 129 over 8 times the reciprocal of this, so 1 over 1,548. Now we actually, when we got this number, this was 129 times 12, so 129 goes into this once, 129 goes into this 12 times. Now if you didn't know that, you could go back through and try to simplify, but we did talk about that earlier when we changed 129 to inches. And so what we have here is 1 over 8 times 12 is 96. So the scale factor is 1 to 96. Write a similarity statement for the following quadrilaterals. Oh, I'm sorry, number 6. Figures having the same shape but not necessarily the same size are similar figures. And we'll go ahead and stop now, and we'll make another part later so the video doesn't get too long.